Welcome to episode 50 of Pineapples and Thorns. I'm Kat, and with me today are Peter and Fado.
Howdy.
Happy 50th anniversary.
Yes, thank you. And today we have an extremely special guest with us. Welcome, Darian from Supercell.
Thank you for having me, and congratulations on the 50th episode.
Thank you very much. Glad to have you here, and I really appreciate you agreeing to do this. It's awesome to have you with us.
Took a lot of coaxing and cajoling, but dragged me kicking and screaming.
Peter, do you want to take us into some CFF news, and then we'll dive right into the interview?
Absolutely. We're still right in the middle of SCWL week. Red Thorn is battling to stick in Champs 2. We are currently 6 stars out of relegation. We have finished all of our attacks. So the team that we need to beat is winning at the moment. So we're going to need some defenses from that other team. So we're trying to hold in. This will be the second month we stick in Champs 2. So that's exciting. Over in TGF, where the other 15s have gone, we are in second place. We are battling the first place clan. We only have 1 attack left. They have only used, I think, 9 out of their 15 as of this recording. So we need our defenses to step up. And we could promote there into Champs 2 also, which is really exciting. I don't have an account in the rated this month. So, how are we doing in the rated?
We're doing okay so far. It's going to be middle of the pack. I think we're right on the cusp. We've got a lot of 15s, but not completely full of 15s. So we seem to find, is it Masters 3 where it's a bit easy walk in the park, and then we get to Masters 2 and then we compete. So, if we bounce around, if we bounce back to Masters 3, no biggie. It's a really low pressure deal. And no one should be getting bent out of shape between promotions and demotions, because a lot of us do have other accounts somewhere that it's more important for us. So it is what it is, and no drama, which is, a big change from last month and the most important thing, I think.
And we won't even talk about the Town Hall 2 clan.
Yeah, that's been a grim, hasn't it? But Shiny Gemworlds has also been kind of grim. We are also in Masters 3 there, but only Town Hall 13s and down. It's been unbalanced. A bunch of Town Hall 9s at the bottom attacking Town Hall 12. So we haven't done spectacularly. Actually, the demotion will be good for that clan, and then we can have fun again next month.
Sounds good.
Then there's the Royal Rumble. That one is coming up this weekend. That is the Town Hall 14 1v1 tournament. If you haven't signed up already, I think there's still time. I'm not sure how many have signed up at the moment. And then March will be the Town Hall 15 Royal Rumble, and I expect a lot more activity for that one, because I don't know how many people are Town Hall 14s anymore. I know Kat and I have really new ones, but not good enough maybe to compete in the tournament.
Oh, I'm in the tournament just for fun.
Good for you. What are you going to use? Witches?
I don't know. Maybe hybrid. I like hybrid.
I like hybrid 14. Yeah. And then last but not least is the C2J is reliving Coke versus Pepsi, World War #2. This one is a draft war. I think they're still looking for people to sign up. So that's over in the C2J server. Yes, you do not get to pick your favorite cola. You'll get drafted to a team, and then you have to battle it out.
Yeah, you're not going to get a lot of effort from me if I'm on Team Pepsi. I'm just saying.
Just saying.
Awesome. So, Darian.
You.
Dive into some questions. Please tell us a little bit about yourself. What brought you to Supercell and Clash of Clans?
Well, I'm still a Town Hall 14. So, and I can't see I offer any kind of particular insight or skill as a clasher. But yeah, I've been in Supercell. Oh, wow. This year marks 6 years. So I started in 2017. So what brought me to Supercell? I've been in the video game industry since 2006, possibly even earlier if you count some freelance work that I've done for other studios. Started off at Blizzard, worked there for 8 years, then on to the PC game Star Citizen. And when I was working on Star Citizen, one of the things I enjoyed doing the most was doing community videos, talking with YouTubers, and I really got a lot of enjoyment out of that. But after I left that company, I actually left the gaming industry, went back to what my education is, which was biomedical engineering. So, yeah. I have a very storied background, and that your podcast does not have enough time to cover my entire employment history, which includes movie stunts, racing cars, skydiving,
Wow.
and also being taught by the actual Wolf of Wall Street on how to do sales. So,
Wow.
That's
yeah,
diverse.
yeah. But long story short, so my brother, he works on console development. He actually works at Sony. I worked on PC games, so the Thanksgivings in our house rivalry was really great. And we always saw mobile games as this, oh, that's that kiddie stuff. That's those cheap knockoff games. And the woman that I met, who eventually became my wife, she claimed she was not a gamer, but every day while we were dating, she was doing clan war attacks and doing farming attacks. I'm like, what are you playing? It's like, it's Clash of Clans. I'm like, isn't that kiddie game? And she, the look of death that I got.
Oh, yes.
So, 6 months into the relationship, next, I'm Town Hall 7, I think it was at that point, thoroughly addicted to this game. And I think it was like it was late 2016 when I was laying in bed and I just open up the game and I see that they're looking for a community manager. And I don't know if it was just pure luck, but apparently that job opening only showed up in the inbox for a few minutes before they had to take it down because I got so many applications. It was complete providence that I just happened to open the game when I saw it. And I turned to, at the time, fiance. I said, should I apply for this? And she's like, yeah, it's in Finland. Absolutely. We were already looking at leaving California, went through the interview process, and was completely surprised when they said, here's your offer letter. Time to move to Finland. So we literally had to plan our wedding in 2 weeks, because 2 weeks after that, I had to pack up and move to Finland while my now wife was packing up all of our stuff in LA, and I wouldn't see her for another 2.5 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was very, very quick. And I've been on the Clash team ever since. I did a short stint as the community manager on Clash Quest while that game was in soft launch. But my heart and soul belongs to Clash of Clans. And what I love about it, and what thing that drew me to it, gaming communities and gaming fandoms, there's a lot of toxicity, especially around certain genres.
Mm-hmm.
But the Clash community is very much lacking in a lot of that. I mean, yeah, there's some, miscreants who like to stir up trouble now and then, but the community as a whole is one of the most supportive ones that I've ever seen. And I think that was one of my big motivations to want to join the community team.
Yeah, I think you're right. Especially in the last few years, I've noticed that the toxicity levels seem to have dropped off quite a bit. And overall, I've just experienced the community as a really positive, supportive environment for most people.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, go back to thinking about the red line and things like that, and some of the modding that has been stamped out. That's what stands out to me as kind of the most toxic era. And I never really. It's nice that I don't even think about like, God, this is so toxic. It really isn't.
Absolutely. And what I like about the Clash community is that it's also very self-policing. Like someone's cheating or someone's botting or someone's trying to steal an account.
Mm-hmm.
Like on Reddit, like they rally against those people.
Yeah, they've done a lot of work towards, promoting account security and that. And kudos to Supercell for bringing the changes to Supercell ID. And it's been amazing.
It's been amazing, yes.
So you talked a little bit about living in California before you moved to Finland. What's been the best thing about your move to Finland, and what's the worst?
Ooh, the worst part is actually the easiest one. So let's start with that. It's, moving to a part of the world where you have no family attachments. And, I've got family in Japan and family in California and family in New York. And being apart from all my nephews and nieces, we left when they were in their early infancy stages between like ages 1 and 4. And, for the last 6 years, they've become people, and not being there for those key development moments to celebrate Christmases with them or Thanksgiving, take them trick-or-treating or show up at their birthdays. That's probably the toughest part. That, and, I miss American supermarkets. And I hate, I'm almost ashamed to say this, but I miss that opulent decadent excess of walking down an aisle and seeing just 30 brands of laundry detergent and 50 brands of toothpaste that nobody ever needs, but the choice. And like, I don't think people really understand just how much choice there is until you move to a country that doesn't have that level of opulent decadence.
Yeah, you don't think about it. Even in Canada, we have so much selection, and everybody likes to complain, well, I can't find this or that, but you don't think about other countries that don't have the amount of selection that we do.
Finland is a very, what's the word I'm looking for? There's supermarkets, like, you don't have big box stores like you have back home. Like, you don't see a Walmart or a Target or Albertsons or any of those big brand stores. Like, supermarkets are very much just small little corner shops to get your daily groceries. And you don't buy, you don't go to Costco and buy 1 month worth of groceries. You pretty much buy the next few days worth of groceries. So you don't
Right.
need massive supermarkets.
Yeah. It's a quite a different mindset in terms of like European grocery stores. It's like you buy what you need for the next day or so, and then you just go back when you need more.
Pretty much. But
Yeah.
the best thing about living in Finland, it's a country that takes care of like universal basic needs. There's universal basic income, universal health care, education, universal housing. And what I found was when I wasn't focused on buying the biggest TV or like buying, the shiniest new car or, the biggest computer I can afford, it turns out I just focused on just quality of life, like going to the park or, taking a holiday, because, London is just a 2-hour flight away and a round trip ticket from Finland is like $200.
Wow.
So yeah, so like a weekend trip to London just for a quick holiday. And I found that I stopped caring about the rat race and the, being stuck in commuter traffic for 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, being inundated with, pharmaceutical commercials on a daily basis. And I just got to focus on just living. And I felt like my life is so much more improved because of that.
That's amazing. On Twitter, you talked about your dream job. I saw that tweet, and that it would be as an actor or a lead vocalist. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I've always had a love for music. I do a pretty mean Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam. I'm a 90s kid. I grew up with grunge. Also an 80s kid, so grew up with a lot of Depeche Mode, and I've got a much deeper voice, so I can pretty much do those notes. I love performing on stage. I don't get stage fright. I actually get more social anxiety in small group conversations, but being on stage is enjoyable. So I've done like movie acting, I've done like movie stunts, and even when we filmed the Clan Capital dev video, we actually filmed it like an actual movie with like a director, a film set, and it was like 2 weeks of filming from like 7 a.m. to like 9 o'clock at night. And I loved every second of it.
That looked like a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. It was exhausting, but I missed that film set energy.
Mhm.
So yeah, those are my 2 dream jobs, apart from, traveling to outer space and exploring new worlds.
Yeah, I get my film set energy by, waiting to hit attack in a war. And, I'm a star, like 1 star. All right, enough of that. So, Coke or Pepsi, Coke or Pepsi in the war. Which would you pick?
This is an easy one for me. People who know me know I'm a complete Coke fanatic. In fact, I've actually got a can of Coke right now in my hand. You can't see it, but I actually have a collection of Coke bottles from every country that I visited.
Cool.
I could probably blind taste test Cokes from the US, Japan, London, or the UK, the EU, Mexico. There's a few others I can blind taste test with probably 90% accuracy.
Interesting.
Crazy. That's amazing.
Useless skill.
Hey, it's like a weird human trick from the old Letterman days, right? So, outside of Clash, which probably takes up a load of time. Look, it's your job. You've also got an account or 2, I'm sure. What do you like to do? And is it something that you found that you had to change when you went to California? When you were living in California, you had certain hobbies, and now that you're in Finland, your hobbies have completely changed, your new interests. So, what do you do for pleasure outside of it?
Ooh, one of the things I've really started to enjoy is once I leave work, apart from doing my clan war attacks or raid attacks, is actually unplugging quite a bit. And probably my most well-known hobbies, I paint plastic models like Warhammer.
Yeah.
I paint them semi-professionally as a hobby. I used to do commission work, but now I just like painting them just as a meditation at the end of the day. I did it while I was in California, and then my wife refused to ship most of my collection because it would have cost way too much, so I gave most of it away.
Oh, that's a
It would have been
heartbreaker.
way too expensive and damaging to ship them.
Mhm.
So I've since then regained the vast majority of my collection in the last 6 years. So my wife says, as long as it doesn't expand to the rest of the house, keep it in my office. I'm totally cool with that.
Awesome.
Apart from that, I used to be very actively involved in martial arts. And anybody ever heard of the term martial arts tricking?
No.
Not me.
Is that like parkour?
Yes, very similar. So martial arts tricking is very acrobatic, where a lot of like gymnastics and parkour. It's almost done like breakdancing, where like people do combinations of crazy acrobatic stuff, and then they kind of like battle it out. Well, I am nowhere near the level of athleticism the kids are today. The group of martial artists that I came with, we were kind of like the founding fathers of that movement, and it was really I still enjoyed being a part of that community while I was still back home. But I don't speak Finnish, or very, very little Finnish, so I haven't been able to do it here. And the older I get, the harder it's getting.
For sure. So you mentioned you've been with Supercell for 6 years. Are you free to tell us some of, and you can make it as general as you want, because I understand there might be some things that are sensitive in this, but what sort of challenges do you face as a community manager?
Ooh, challenges. Time is always the biggest one. The interesting thing about working in PC game development is that things are planned out many years in advance. Even with console gaming, product plans are many, many years in advance. Like groundwork for certain projects are laid down, 4, 5, 6 years in advance. Whereas mobile game development, it tends to be a lot faster. And even though the Clash team, we've got a good couple year timeline that we're looking at, development moves really quickly, which means I can go from having no information to having all of it right at once. And as a community manager, trying to balance out how do we spread this information out to keep the community interested on what we're working on, especially in between periods where we don't have a lot of stuff to share. It's one of the reasons why we started doing the recent builder blog regarding the new builder-based development, is to kind of, we've never really been transparent about our game development, and this is kind of like our opportunity to do that. So I think probably my biggest challenge is getting the game team to really share with them, like get them to understand that the community wants to see what we're working on. Because game devs tend to hold things very close to the chest, and they don't like showing stuff that isn't finished.
Do you think that's a competitive side? Like they're just worried about someone stealing an idea, or it just they don't want to show it until it's perfect?
So one of the interesting things about the Finnish gaming industry is that there's a lot of collaboration and information sharing about best practices, what we're working on. Whereas when I worked in the States, information was currency. Like, even if you like hinted at what you're working on, like that could result in a game term or like company termination.
Wow.
Even though we don't reveal stuff that we're working on, a couple years from now, we're still, like, at least within the industry, we're still very collaborative and cooperative and open about communication and sharing information. So the reason why we keep things close to the chest is we don't want to show stuff that's incomplete. We want people to see the final product and be wowed by it, and not show something that's, got placeholder art. Like if we showed a brand new troop and we're only using a barbarian as a placeholder, it doesn't look as cool. So it minimizes the impact of that announcement.
Yeah. Would you be able to say what the most fun part of your job is then? I know that dev video was amazing. What about the community manager side?
Oh, that's easy. It's the main reason why I wanted to be a community manager. And this is something I actually said in my interview, and they actually had to send in Ryan, the community lead, back when he was the Boom Beach community manager, just to see if I was BSing or not, to see if it was like a sales line. Being a community manager, especially around update time, feels like being Santa Claus, or at least a parent on Christmas. When you deliver and you drop all the presents in front of everybody and everybody unwraps it, and you see their faces and their excitement of unwrapping, like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, to me, that is like spiritual fuel for me. Like, seeing the excitement, seeing the energy, seeing the love. Like, I love being a part of that moment. And it's probably my favorite part of being a community manager.
And then how much of that do you get to share with the developers? Do you just, show them every tweet you get, every DM you get on Discord? Just share and share to boost those guys up too?
I hoard that thing like a box of cookies. I want all my... No, I'm kidding. So the community or the development team, they do lurk on social media. Like they lurk Reddit, they lurk Twitter, and so they do see a lot of the feedback. But if there's a comment that I feel like really exemplifies how much effort, or recognizes how much effort the team put into something, yeah, we'll absolutely share it.
Amazing. All right, so then I got to ask the opposite. What is the least favorite or the least fun part of your job?
The least fun part is probably managing budgets. It's being the face of the... So we have 3 different community managers on the Clash team. I'm the only public-facing one. So if you were to look at it like a musical band, I'm the vocalist, and the other 2, one's like the music producer, and the other one is probably like the songwriter in the background. And you'll never see them on stage. And that's by design. Like, they have no interest in being recognized by the public. They don't want to be known by the public.
Mm-hmm.
So being the face of the game is one facet of the job that I do. It's a very small facet. The background is like a lot of planning of marketing campaigns, social media campaigns, working on video projects, dealing with contracts, dealing with outsourcing vendors. We also have a network of how many dozens of international community managers, content creators. There's, like I said before, there's not enough hours in the day. So time is the thing that I don't have enough of.
Yeah.
If I could travel from event to event to event around the world and just meet Clash players, that would be a dream part of my job.
Okay. You mentioned you have a Town Hall 14. What's your go-to attack?
Ooh, Super Dragon spam. No, I'm kidding. I will admit, like, during CWL seasons, if I'm being lazy, I will do a Super Dragon spam if I know I can just easy 3-star it. But if I wanted to be strategic, I am a diehard Queen Walk fanatic.
Good.
There's something incredibly rewarding about a good, solid Queen Walk.
Absolutely. How about Clan Capital? Were you an early adopter to the Graveyard spell?
Graveyard? Well, my personal clan hasn't unlocked Skeleton Park yet.
Okay.
The clan that I'm in, my wife actually started the clan in 2012. So it's been around since day one.
Oh, gee.
And true story, she was the clan leader of probably one of the most bloodthirsty clans. Even when clan wars were first introduced, she even kicked her own kids out of the clan when they missed their clan war attacks.
Wow.
Ruthless. Wow.
Oh yeah, she was a bloodthirsty general. I'm now the leader of it, and it's very much a friends and family clan, and so it's much more casual. So we're not as serious about competition anymore. So yeah, our clan capital is very much lagging in progress. But my favorite clan capital attack, I don't do any kind of meta strategy. I love using the flying fortress with probably just a couple P.E.K.K.A.s. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I do love those Electro P.E.K.K.A.s there. It's so cool.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite scenery?
Ooh, favorite scenery. You know what? Let me take a look at my base really quick. I think it's interesting because every new scenery that we release, our artists keep upping their game on it.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, that is so true.
Well, what we did was we actually hired an artist who oversees pretty much the development of the sceneries and the skins, which is why you've seen such a huge increase in the quality.
Wow.
Let's see. I'd probably have to say the Town Hall 15 one, the Epic Magic scenery, is probably one of my favorites. I like the esoteric geometric shapes on it.
Mm-hmm.
So which one's your favorite, Kat?
Oh, my favorite?
Yeah.
It's still the shadow scenery.
Oh, yes.
I love
That is a
one.
good one.
Yeah, I know. It's dark like my soul, but
What about Fado and Peter? What about you guys?
Oh man. So I'm more of a seasonal guy, meaning like the latest winter one, I think it came out about, a year ago. I love that one. And just for the record, Darian, I've been saying on many podcasts, like the artists have totally upped their game. Like the 3D effects they've added to them.
Mhm.
It's so obvious that I don't know if it's like they have determined that, tablets and phones are, improving every single year, that they have more ability to do things like that. But man, like you consider where it was with the first couple and where it is now, just fantastic.
Oh, just wait until you see what we got planned for the rest of the year.
That's
Nice.
exciting.
I love that one with the Electro or the E-Dragon's tail sticking out of the cave. I can't remember the name of it at the moment. My phone will crash if I try to open the game at the same time as Discord. So that's just whimsical to me.
Yeah, that's a fun one. What about hero skins, Darian?
It's probably a tie between the Party Queen, mainly because she takes me back to my early 90s underground rave DJing days. I also like the Autumn Queen. Autumn is probably one of my favorite times of the year, and it's even though it's an older skin, it's something about it I find it so comforting.
Yeah, that one's a very pretty skin for sure.
And then can I ask a quick follow-up, Kat? How much input do you as a community manager or the community managers in whole have? Maybe not so much feedback, but you're providing ideas like, oh, a cool theme for this would be X or Y. Have you guys thought about that? Or is it something that the artists it's entirely their domain?
So everything on the game team is pretty much done by, I don't want to say democratically or by committee, but it is done by discussion. And the artists will present like new concepts about skins or sceneries, share them with the team, and we'll collectively give our input. From the community managers, we'll talk about like, should we be aware about this cultural relevance? Would it be culturally insensitive? Would it be, considered cultural appropriation if we did a theme on this? And so we try to do a lot of self-policing in that regard. But, even though as community managers, we're not artists, we're not game programmers, the amount of input we have has equal amount of weight as everybody else on the team. So in that regard, I can't pinpoint to any particular thing that we've had an impact on skin-wise or aesthetic-wise, but we have made suggestions and discussions in the past.
Are there any plans for some more fan art inspired sceneries or skins?
That's a really good question. So when we did the Supercell Make program for the skin and the scenery, the tech for the Supercell Make program was still relatively new to Clash of Clans, and it wasn't as developed as it was for Brawl Stars and Royale. So we're still catching up on a lot of that tech debt for Clash of Clans before we can start doing another program like that again. We would like to. We would love to see more fan art based skins and sceneries implemented in the game because the amount of entries that we got were incredible, and the quality of the entries were amazing.
There's some incredible artists out there for sure.
Absolutely. But there's a few things that we want to do in-game first to make sure that we can set up a program that is much more robust and a little bit easier to implement those things into our game.
Makes sense. Is there a possibility that special obstacles like the dragon statue would be made available to purchase, similar to the hero skins?
I can't say yes because, right now the answer is a very lukewarm no. It's a topic that comes up every now and then about bringing back old obstacles, especially like the seasonal ones. Like if you deleted your 2012 Christmas tree, can I have it back? The problem is like we don't keep track of who had those. Like there's no database entry for when you had a particular obstacle.
Right.
But about bringing them back based on when accounts were created, or even just removing the timeline thing altogether and bringing just the opportunity to buy them back. I wouldn't say it's off the table, but it's not something that we're currently discussing.
Fair enough. What about some kind of a potion that would speed up the pet upgrades in the pet house?
So that's something that we've discussed. It's not something that's on the table right now. It may be a new magic item in the future. It's a question that we get quite a lot.
Fair enough. Tell us what it was like for you guys, you and the rest of the team, to have an in-person Worlds after 2+ years of COVID restrictions. What stood out particularly about the experience for you?
I think it was just the amount of enthusiasm and seeing all the creators and players in person after, not being able to see anybody for a couple of years, like even not even able to see our own colleagues at the office for a couple of years where we had to work from home.
Mhm.
The idea that we were able to have an offline event and have it do so well was such a great feeling that it reminded us of, why we do these events in the first place. And from all the different live streams that we've done at other events, all the fan gatherings that we've gone to, whether it's in Paris or in Tokyo, it reminds us that the Clash community is very active. They're very passionate. They're very excited, and anything that we can do to help recognize the players and help facilitate that Clash community to be on a world stage, like for us, it's just such a great feeling.
Excellent. Excellent. So, changing gears a little bit, going from the main base, let's talk a little bit about Builder Base 2.0. I'm going to ask a couple questions, and I understand you can be cagey on these. So, but what can you tell us about the plans? What do you feel free to tell us, whether it's the timeline of your anticipated release or any features?
So our anticipated release timeline is within the first half of the year. And it will come with Builder Hall 10. Like, these are things that we've already stated publicly, in case anybody hasn't heard. We aren't removing anybody's progress, like, removing the 6 builder or Otto or anything like that. You'll still have access to that. As far as like how Builder Base will function, another thing that we've said is that we're removing the head-to-head aspect of Builder Base.
Mhm.
So as far as how the combat will go, I think we're still doing testing on if it's going to be asymmetric, like normal farm attacks, or if it'll be like clan or like raid weekend type attacks. We're still doing some discussions on that, still doing some early play testing. There's going to be some new features and new mechanics to Builder Base that we haven't quite revealed yet, but I think they're going to be some very interesting surprises.
Great. Great. I can't wait to see them, because I always Builder Base had like a lot of potential, and once people got to 6 builder, a lot of people just threw up their hands and said, I'm going back to the OG. So, but I've got a couple of accounts that are max on Builder Base, so I'm kind of excited to see what's coming. And then, so the behind the scenes videos that you guys have been doing, so not only they're informative, they're entertaining, and it allows you guys some creativity where you've built myths around certain things that have come. The invisibility spell comes to mind. So, are there any other examples of troops or defenses that you think that were initially rejected but then made their way into the game?
Well, first, I want to comment on, thank you for enjoying any kind of behind the scenes stuff. That we've been really trying to push more of that transparency. And that's why we've been doing the builder blog on our developer blog on the Clash of Clans homepage. And we want to start pushing that into a much more video format to reveal more development information about whether it's Builder Base or future content, and have some of the developers actually come on and talk about the origin stories of some of these features.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully you'll start seeing more of that in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Good
Great.
example of something that changed. Lava Hound was a good example of something that started off very differently. Lava Hound, if I remember it, and I've told the story so many times now, and for some reason I'm completely blanking on it. I think there was some kind of goblin balloon unit that had multiple attack arcs or like multiple attack areas to damage, and for some reason they could it was before we even had airships or siege machines. It was basically like a goblin hot air balloon that had different ways of attacking or could attack different things simultaneously. But for some reason, the mechanics either weren't fun or way too complex. And then eventually it became the Lava Hound of, when it dies, it turns into a bunch of lava pups. So it was a feature that ended up something completely different than what was originally planned.
That's amazing.
Can I give one more?
Please.
During the development of, I don't remember if it was Town Hall 12 or Town Hall 13, we were working on a troop that we were calling the Reverse Golem. And it was a troop that, as it did more damage, it actually got bigger and stronger. So, like, as it would punch buildings, if it would destroy the building, it actually gained in power and gained in size. So on paper, it was a really cool unit. We enjoyed doing a lot of play testing with it, especially as a spam unit. But one of the things we realized is if you mixed it with other units, it was really difficult to make sure that that reverse golem troop, I don't remember what we called it internally, when you did mixed troops, it was very difficult to make sure that that unit was the one that did the killing blow to gain the buff.
Right.
So especially if you had like archers or any kind of ranged unit, oftentimes that ranged shot would destroy the building before that reverse golem would even get close to it. So it turned out it was either way too technical that the average player wouldn't be able to use, or was utterly ineffective in mixed unit armies. So we just realized we just didn't make it. We just scrapped it midway through development.
You see, I mean, at that point, you just make the archer bigger, right? I mean, problem solved. No. This is why you don't want me in your ideation sessions.
Well, I'm known for the bad ideas on the team.
I'll top you. So deep in the database of Clash, somewhere there's a database, I'm assuming, that tracks at some level hit rates, etc. So when it comes to, in general, at Town Hall 15, offhand, do you know what the hit rate is there? And I'm guessing, like, we could talk war, you could talk farm. Farm, maybe not as interesting because you can get in a lot of rush bases there, but in terms of war hits, do you guys track that percentage? And if you know it, what is it?
I honestly don't.
Okay.
I'm not the data guy. And I'll be honest on this one, like very rarely do we ever publicly discuss actual hard numbers.
Okay.
We usually, so when we do game balance decisions, whether it's, whether we nerf a troop or buff a unit or anything like that, we do look at hit rates. And we do look at what is, like, is one particular unit or town hall or defense showing or skewing either more higher or lower than, I guess, a particular average, I guess the best way to describe it. And that helps us make decisions on how we look at the meta and how we look at when we do balancing. So it is very data driven.
Mm-hmm.
What those numbers are, I couldn't tell you.
Entirely fair, Darian. So can I follow up on that then? So there's empirical data where you've got some sort of like, okay, we released, let me just give an example. When the Super Dragon Super Troop came out, at some point, maybe a month, 6 weeks later, you kind of do a quick review of, okay, have hit rates changed, dramatically? And if so, what's the troop usage on them? Do you ever get, so that's the empirical side of it. Do you ever get feedback from some of the better known creators? I'm going to call it like someone like Itsu. Itsu, you maybe see a YouTube video where he's like, man, this is too OP, or name your creator, right? Do they have a lot of input or effect on those decisions for nerfs and buffs?
Do they have impact? Their input is taken into consideration. And when it comes to players, especially the pro players, not just the content creators, but the top competitors, we look at their attacks, their hit rates. We look at, and we try to get their unbiased feedback because they're very honest with us. Like if there is an attack that's overpowered or like way too successful, they will let us know this is way too powerful. This needs to be nerfed. They won't keep it to themselves and say I'm going to keep this and just use it to my own advantage. And that's one thing I really appreciate about our content creators in our community of players is that they're looking out for the best interest and the health of the game as well. So we do have a core of players that we discuss game mechanics with, like, what's the temperature of the community, what's the competitive scene look like, but our decisions aren't purely based on what's best for the competition scene. We try to look at also, what's fun for the players. If we were to look at it purely from a competitive scene, the game would probably look very different, probably a lot more difficult, but, the vast majority of the players, they're not going to be competing on the world stage. They just want to do their farming attacks and their war attacks and their weekend raids. So we do have to balance between what is just enjoyable and fun. And how do you measure what's fun? It's a gut feeling. So even though there is empirical data, we do a lot of play test sessions to say, is this even enjoyable?
Thank you for that. That's great.
I'd like to follow that up with a kind of a step back to the, someone just starting an account now. We know you made some very conscious decisions to accelerate how fast someone can move through those early town hall levels. I'm one of those people. I started a new account, I guess, last December, hoping to be able to do Lalo and those kind of attacks that I'm not quite skilled enough to do at Town Hall 15 or even Town Hall 14. But I really enjoyed doing coming through the ranks, and I miss being a Town Hall 9. I miss being a Town Hall 10. So do you feel that, and I don't know quite how to phrase this, but do you feel you're robbing those players of some of the experience of being at a Town Hall for a given period of time where you get to try out the new attacks? We know those players aren't at the cusp of development, right? They're moving towards being, getting to play with the big boy toys. But at some point, I think people are missing out on the experience of Town Hall 9, the grind, all those things. How did you feel about when the cost of walls dropped and how quickly we could upgrade heroes decreased?
So the number one driver of Clash content is progression. More than competition, more than farming, progression has always been the number one player driver since the game was released. Now, back in 2017 when I joined, Town Hall 11 was the max, and the upgrade times were fairly long to get that far, which meant you spent a lot of time at those mid Town Hall levels, especially Town Hall 9 was like a big sweet spot for Wars because it was, it was a very balanced Town Hall. It was a very comfy zone.
Yes.
And the jump from Town Hall 9 to Town Hall 10 back then was huge because you went from Town Hall 9 to suddenly dealing with Inferno Towers. And going from Town Hall 10 to 11, now you're dealing with Eagle Artillery and a brand new hero. And the strategy shift required for them, it was intimidating. It was daunting. So when we released Town Hall 12, we knew that we wanted to incentivize players to move up because there was a large number of players who were just sitting at Town Hall 9 and 10. And
Yes.
we understood why, because it was a very comfortable zone, especially, like I said, for Wars, because there wasn't anything else to do in game. So as we made the decision to start adding much more content at a quicker pace, we realized that was going to cause a shift in where players parked at certain stages. And yeah, that means some of the early town halls are going to be left behind, but we always want to try to pitch it as, yeah, but look how much more cooler content there is ahead of you. And we want that sense of progression, that sense of growth. We want to maintain that as the primary driver of the game. And if let's face it, if you want to climb up, whether it's in clan war leagues or even in competition or even just in farming, you got to get better. And when we release troops, they tend to be geared towards higher Town Hall levels. So
yeah,
when people ask, are you going to add more Town Hall 9 content? Yeah, we did. And there's a button that says upgrade right next to your Town Hall.
Yes, very good. No, that's a great answer. And it's been something that's kind of been weighing on me for a while. That just, I agree. Though I can see your guys' point. Move to the higher Town Hall levels. Keep going.
Well, let me ask you this: have any of you guys played any kind of MMO?
No, not me.
I'm a clashaholic, Darian. I would never.
Sorry.
I'm loyalist.
Wow. Well, I'm going to use any particular fantasy MMO as an example. When you start off the game, those early levels, you're exploring the world for the first time, and you get to max level, and you're sitting there stuck at that, and you think about oh, this is really cool. I've got all this max stuff, but then they add a whole new expansion to the game, and with more levels for your character to level to. Now you're wondering well, what about all the stuff that came before? Yeah, you've got good, fun memories of doing it. But the game is moving on. The game is evolving. It's adding new content and something new and exciting. And, we don't want to capitalize on nostalgia. Remember when the game was like this? We want people to be excited about new content because nostalgia, while it's, cool to look at it through rose-tinted glasses, we want to look back at Clash of Clans. Look how long the upgrade times were back then.
Oh,
yes.
Right.
And troop cook times and all the things. Yes.
24 hours to cook an army. We're not going back to that.
Yeah. So does Neverwinter Nights count? I played that ages ago, but yes.
I'm a hardcore D&D player, so.
Excellent. I'd just like to say, I know this is not necessarily Clash of Clans related, but the two-factor authentication to protect our accounts, that has been so welcomed. I think everybody in our clan has, tried to do that. I know that's not directly a thing for you guys, but just kudos to getting it in place. It's been really super confidence inspiring.
I want to give a shout out to the Reddit community on this. And so the Supercell ID team that we have at Supercell, when Reddit started really firing a campaign to stop accounts from being phished, it really gave the community team kind of like the ammunition to really bring to them, like, look, we need to solve this, or at least give players confidence in their accounts, in their account security.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad we're able to make it happen, but this is one example of a very community-driven thing that it was a direct result of the community rallying together and firing up and making change happen.
There were thread after thread on Reddit some months ago, and
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear. So, anyone that's listening, if you want, start a Reddit campaign to get your feedback in, right?
Oh God.
You've left
Okay.
We've opened Pandora's box.
I'm waiting for the campaign to make heroes available while they're upgrading.
Yeah.
Scratch the last half of the agenda, Kat.
Oh dear. So Darian, Clan Capital is a great addition to the game. Making bases can be a bit of a chore though. Is there any kind of a plan to enable us to copy bases from links?
That's a really good question, and the answer is a lot more complex than you might think. It's not a matter of just copying bases and then sharing them, because one of the issue here is repairable ruins and decorations add a lot of complexity to make that work as nicely as it does with builder-based layouts or home village layouts. So because not everybody's removed those ruins, repairable ruins and decorations, so they don't function the same way as they do in the home village and builder base. So being able to copy that, it makes it really difficult to do. One idea that we have been talking about is possibly making it for non-leaders to create district layout suggestions. So basically, like, go into the village layout, let them lay one out, post it, and then the leader can actually approve it for that layout. Or possibly even creating like a base builder role within the clan as like a base engineer or a clan strategist or something like that. And they're the ones responsible for doing base building. And especially this is for all the base builders out there. But as far as copying, yeah, it's a bit more technically difficult than just copying bases from like home village or builder base.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Super troops.
Mm-hmm.
Standard complaint is that, you can unlock a particular super troop for 3 days, but then you're kind of stuck with it. And if you're in something like SECWL, one war you might want to use super dragons, the next war you might want to use an ice hound, and the next war you might want to use something else. So, but you can't. You're limited as to the different attack comps that you can use. Are there any plans to eliminate the 3-day locking period, even just during SECWL?
So I'm going to give a vaguely evasive answer, but it may. No, I'm hoping it'll give you also kind of a light at the end of the tunnel. So we've been thinking about how the system might work, because we're always going to be adding more super troops. And as that roster gets bigger and bigger, being locked in for just 2 troops for an X amount of days, it's going to be less and less viable and less enjoyable, especially, at one point, if we have 1 super troop for every regular troop. So it is something that we're going to have to address in the future. And we are thinking about how that system might work in the future. But that won't come probably not for a while, at least not until minimum after builder base update goes out in the first half of the year, maybe sometime in the second half of the year, or maybe even next year. I don't have a timeline on when it might happen, but as the roster grows, it is something that we will have to address in the future.
Cool.
Great. Thanks for that. So the communication, as I said before, it's been great. Like, you guys have upped your game. We're getting all these insights, but what we're seeing more and more also is all these AMAs on Reddit, and we really appreciate those.
So one of the things we have right now is in our clans, where once you're a level 10 clan, you've kind of unlocked all of the perks that come with being a mature clan, let's call it. One of the things we run into in Red Thor all the time is the 9 troop donation limit. Had there been any talks about, maybe level 15, level 20 clans getting different perks unlocked, like a 10th troop donation?
So this topic comes up usually whenever we're discussing update features about, what kind of clan perks we want to add for future updates. Right now, we don't think this limit needs to be changed, so one person can donate all hogs or all balloons. There are plenty of other clan castle compositions that weren't possible with one person, and there are plenty that still are. So at this juncture, we don't feel there's any particular reason to update this just yet to to make sure one person can fulfill every single clan castle composition. I know that's not a happy answer, but that might change in the future.
Actually, I'm going to add to your argument. I think it involves more people in the clan. It's tough on the guys that are, in my nighttime, but we have now raid medals that we can self-donate, so I don't think it's as big a deal. But you've said before, Clash of Clans is a group effort, so I still like the idea of having 9 only. Just as counterpoint.
Well said.
Peter, he's not going to offer you a job.
No, yeah, I'm busy enough. Thank you. Stuart hinted that the air sweeper might get some love this year. Is there anything else you could offer?
Well, Stuart did tell me to say one thing. He told me to say that he's a wonderful person.
Sure.
No, that is a true story. When I told him about this podcast, he just said, "Just say what a wonderful person I am." Troll face emoji. So,
Are you saying wonderful or wonderful?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting.
But like I said, I promised I would say that. But now, to answer your question, when he mentioned about Air Sweeper may get some love this year, we've actually talked about what ways we can improve the air defense or Air Sweeper.
Uh-huh.
We've joked about this, and this is not something that's coming. Like, what if it spat fire? What if it, like the spell tower? What if it froze things or slowed things down? These are just ideas that we tossed, not things that we're going to be putting in the game. But we do acknowledge that it does need a level. When we do look at adding more levels to the Town Hall 15 content, it wouldn't be surprising if the air sweeper got some love there.
All my air attacking friends are now quaking in their shoes, I think.
Well, that would be really interesting because I don't like it. Would there ever be a point where a balloon couldn't overcome the air sweeper at all?
I think that if the balloon could overcome the air sweeper, that defeats the purpose of what the air sweeper does.
Oh, I suppose I should mean like the speed of if the distance you're pushed back by the air sweeper is going to be greater than the balloon could make up in the interim between puffs.
I think that would be very meta changing if that could happen. That would drastically change how balloon attacks, whether it's Lalo or anything else that involved a lot of air units. I think we're happy with the way the air defense or the air sweeper functions as far as how fast it shoots. That's why there's, the super troop balloon and also the haste spell to try to counter the air sweeper.
Yes.
But if we were to make the balloon inherently faster than the air sweeper can spit out its air, I don't know if we're ready to quite cross that bridge yet.
Right, thank you.
So we are a group of leaders in our clan. And one of the things we notice occasionally is we've typed out a clan mail and made a mistake with that very first word. Is there any option coming? Or could you maybe mention in the next team meeting that maybe we could edit a clan mail rather than having to retype the whole thing?
Oh, that request is coming from the team as well.
Okay.
So we readily acknowledge that the clan chat and the clan mail and the clan notification system is quite antiquated. In fact, I believe it hasn't largely been touched since the game was released. It's definitely due for an overhaul. It's on our wish list of things that we'd like to tackle.
You just made me smile. That's made my day. All right, let's jump into some fun things. We're going to do a top 5. So we're going to do what are your top 5 comfort foods, and we'll circle around. So Darian, do you have a number 5?
Yeah, I'm a Californian, so pepperoni and pineapple pizza, Japanese curry, Japanese katsu, Korean barbecue, and I'm gonna have to go with my favorite, a 90 to 180 90 to 180 day dry aged ribeye grilled to perfection.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I think you posted a picture of that on your Twitter, didn't you, once?
I did.
Your butcher had hooked you up. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Pedo, how about you?
All right, I'll go through my 5. The first one is a patty melt made of smash burger patties with a side of global chat and heroes available during upgrade. Oh, sorry.
Your
Number
agenda's
4.
going.
Number 4. A nice French dip. So I'm going a little hard on the red meat on this list, by the way, folks. So number
A
3.
good French dip is hard to beat.
And that started in LA, I believe.
Phillips?
Yeah, I can't remember. Of course, like someone like me in my age, of course, I'm Wikipediaing the French dip sandwich, and I learned, yeah, okay.
Was there sawdust on the floor?
Oh, no idea.
Oh.
Number 3, meatloaf and mashed potatoes and green beans. Just a standard. We usually make that a couple times in the cold weather months. No, not as many people in my house are as enthused about it as I am. Number 2, chili. I don't mind the beans, mostly red chili, by the way. When we make like a chicken chili, it's more brothy and doesn't feel as comfort. But a good red chili, and like I said, I don't mind beans, even though I lived in Texas for 12 years, and they really frown upon the beans with their chili con carne. I've grown to tolerate it. And finally, a creamy soup that we've got that has beer and cheese whiz along with all the cream of chicken and cream of potato condensed soup that we add to it. A lot of chicken that's cut up in there, not brown rice, long grain and wild rice. So that with some warm bread, and yeah, that's just Michigan winter food.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Is it the Campbell's can of cream of chicken soup that comes out like toothpaste?
Yeah, that and a little bit of cream of chicken. I think it's 1 or 2 cans of that and cream of potato, and then the rest of it is kind of balancing out some freshly diced onion, some cooked chicken. You can add bacon to it, but that's almost overloading it at that point. So yeah,
Baked
delicious.
potato in soup form.
Interesting.
I also have chili on my top 5. I'm a beans and chili kind of guy, never having lived in Texas. My meals are a little bit simpler than your guys. I also like oatmeal. That's a super winter morning, get me going, keep me warm.
Favorite brand of oatmeal?
I make steel cut oats. I'm just cooking it myself in the kitchen. My wife insists I toast it first before I boil the hell out of it.
I'm just a Quaker maple and brown sugar instant oatmeal guy.
Okay, yeah. I sometimes add raisins and a little bit of maple syrup.
Wild.
And yep, shepherd's pie is high on my list. If they are asking what we should make for dinner, I always suggest that. I probably only get it once a winter, like you say, Fado. Not everybody's as enthusiastic about it as I am, but I'm the guy who has to do the dishes, so I like the one pot things. And then a bit of a twist here: salt and vinegar chips. I like that for watching TV. Yep, that's one of my go-to things. And wine gums. I don't know if you guys wine gums in Finland, but for sitting around watching TV, a small handful of those makes my night.
What is that?
They're like jujubes, but I think they might be English in origin.
Yeah, they're different flavors. They're a little bit
chewier than a jujube, but
they're chewier than a jujube.
Question:
must be a Canadian thing.
Do you guys have Cheesecake Factory out there?
No. Yes, I think there is one, just not near me.
They have great shepherd's pie.
Thank you.
Interesting. My top 5 comfort foods are grilled cheese with tomato soup.
Yes.
It's always a good thing in the winter. Mac and cheese, spaghetti and meatballs, sushi, and pizza. Everything is super carb heavy.
Any kind of particular sushi roll?
I love California rolls.
Yum. Okay.
It's spicier the better. So yeah. And the reason that everything's super carb heavy for me right now is because I'm currently doing keto. So
feeling the need.
I'm just a little obsessed with carbs at the moment.
All the things you dream of eating.
Exactly.
I did it for 4 months. I know the pain.
Yeah, it's not so bad once you get into it and you're actually eating a lot more.
Yeah.
But the first bit is a little bit.
I'm actually starting it back up this Sunday. So I'm going to be hating life for the first week and just wanting to murder someone.
Well, good timing on the podcast then, Kat.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent. Let's jump into some shout outs. Darian, do you have anybody you want to shout out?
Ooh. Hi, Mom. No. One, shout out to just pretty much the Clash community and thank you for being so phenomenal and thank you for allowing me to be a part of this journey for the last 6 years. I know it sounds like a very cheesy answer, but truly the Clash community is what's made me enjoy this job for 6 years now. And I just want you guys just keep being awesome, keep making awesome content like this podcast. All our content creators out there, whether they're the moderators on on Reddit or just the amount of personalities that we have in the Clash community, you're all awesome. So it's a general thank you and shout out to everybody out there who plays Clash.
Wonderful. Beto?
Thank you. Shout out to Darian. You're probably going to hear this a couple more times. Thank you for taking the time to spend some time with us and be honest and open about the questions we posed to you, and keep doing good work. So thanks for all you do for the community. I want to shout out, our lovely clan and family. You guys continue to be, the reason why a lot of us keep playing. Obviously the game is great. The game is where we built our community, but we keep coming back to the game because of the community. So it's a lot of everything. And finally, a shout out to Stuart, who is wonderful.
And Peter?
Well, make sure he hears that.
Yes, thanks for being on with us, Darian. It's been great. My shout-outs are a little long this week because it is our episode 50. So I want to start with Mama Sid's. Without her, there would be no podcast. Thank you so much for all that you do. I'd also like to thank Butters and Rusty, 2 former co-hosts. Oh, and Tip Dog, 3 former co-hosts. You were part of the journey, so thank you very much. I know you don't get to spend as much time in the game as you once did, but hopefully you get to hear this. And thank you, Fado, for keeping it light. Always good for a laugh or two per episode, whether you mean to or not. And every guest that has ever appeared, this is really what this pod has been built on, is player profiles and just getting to know people in the community. And then, of course, last but not least, to Kat. It's your passion and your drive that kind of has kept the podcast going and carried us through.
Thank you, Peter. I'm also going to echo everything you guys said. Thank you, Darian, for agreeing to come on the show. It's really been a pleasure having you on here. And shout out to my clan and all my co-leaders and all the members of the clans. And I'm going to do a shout out to my Marbles on Stream pals, because we've been having a lot of fun the last few days. C-Note, Knob, Green Arrow, Hammer, those marbles going. And thank you everybody for listening. The CFF is a family of clans who love to play various games such as Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, among others. You can send questions or comments to us on Twitter at RedThornCOC. To get more information on our clans, events, and podcasts, join the CFF Discord at discord.gg/clashfiles.